Hi. Hello, everybody. You're welcome to the D-Mount Show podcast, and I have my guest who's joining the conversation, Sheriff Joe McGill of Nye County Sheriff's Office.
Hi.
And Axel has become in love with him.
And of course, Axel's here.
Axel's always here. And Diesel's little, so he's trying to get here. He's running around. So I wanted Joe for you to be on my show again because it's been so long. You think it's 2 years. I think it's like 3 or 4.
Could be. I don't remember.
It was right after the election, I think.
Was it? It might have been.
So. But
well, that's 2.5 years.
Is that 2.5? Okay. So, speaking of that, are you running again?
As far as I know, yes. If everybody wants me to, I will.
Yeah. That's a big one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I always say if I don't get hit by a bus.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, that's good to know. When we first did the interview on the radio show, ignore him. This was brand new to you, and the position from administrative to, or from traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Traffic to administrative. What did you not expect?
Oh. I guess probably the stress of it. Not necessarily always a negative stress, but busy.
Busy, yeah.
There's days when I never start from the time I walk in the door until the time I leave. And then there's other days when it's like, I need to find something to do.
Yeah.
But those days when it's nonstop and it just keeps coming and it's one fire after another, it's like I'm a firefighter and not necessarily
Chinese fire drill.
That's right. That's
what it's called.
Yeah. It sometimes it can be very busy and things just happen to come up out of nowhere, and sometimes they have to be dealt with immediately. And I'm not talking about like a call for service that requires search warrants and things like that. I'm talking about administrative functions where we have to suddenly deal with something.
Right.
Now,
does your wife do some of the administrative stuff?
No. My wife does the equipment and supplies.
I didn't hear her when we were talking at the Lincoln Day dinner, but I knew she worked over there.
Now then you have the other Tammy. My wife is Tammy and my assistant is Tammy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
that's
okay,
confusing.
So that might be what you're thinking about. My wife is Tammy McGill and my assistant is Tammy Engel.
Gotcha.
So Tammy Engel does get involved in the administrative functions, and she supervises our front office personnel and
kind of blocks people for you.
Blocks people for me or directs people to me. Depends on who it is.
Right.
So she is very much my right-hand person.
Do you find that a lot of people need you? Always you?
A lot of people want me.
Want you, right.
Yeah.
They don't get you.
There's a lot of people who, because they met me one time, they think they have the right to walk in the door unannounced and ask to speak to me.
Oh, no.
And if I'm free, I talk to them, sure. Mm-hmm. If I'm already got something scheduled, then fortunately I can't.
Yeah, right.
I can't drop everything all the time.
Right.
There are times, and then there's those people that they, somehow they came. They saw my name. They recognized me. I was talking to a guy yesterday at the town board meeting out in Amargosa, and I've never met this guy in my life. And he said he called me right after I took office and wanted to meet with me, and I never called him back. And it was a fairly serious allegation that he was wanting to talk about. And I said, well, okay, I guess maybe I didn't call you back. Obviously it's been 2.5 years. I don't remember the message.
Yeah.
Did you call me again? No. So you waited 3 years to stand up in front of a town board meeting and air this complaint that you're
Right.
wanting to air,
Right.
give me a chance.
Right.
So
It wasn't that important if he didn't call it out.
Well, apparently not.
Right. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I remember after doing my show, and I think it was the voting thing for Trump. What is it? It's not the regular voting that we did, but the one at Bob Roode and
The
you know, I do this all the time.
yeah,
sorry.
what did they call that?
Caucus?
Okay, yeah.
Is it caucus? Yeah. And I just go by because not everybody remembers you after one thing, and I'm like,
Right.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
And it looked like you didn't recognize me. I go, he probably doesn't recognize
No, I'm sure I did.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe something didn't ring.
I always say that to you. Just, hey, Joe.
Yeah.
That's it. And, but, people need to understand, first of all, it's hard for me to remember what happened this morning.
Right.
So to remember people. And
I tend to be good with faces, but terrible with names.
Yeah.
Terrible with names. So, hey, young lady, how are you?
Yeah. So, it's give them a break, you guys, because there's
so many people out in this town
and
in this county. I mean, I was just up in Tonopah over the last 2 days, and there are people that I recognize, and I might recognize your face, but please don't expect me to remember your name.
Right.
Just introduce yourself to me.
Right. So, it's just, it is a hard thing to do. I know when I was campaigning, I talked to over 1,500 people.
Right.
And I don't remember everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Not even faces. Just like,
Oh, do you want a hug?
Oh. See, I just got fixed, Sheriff.
Just got fixed.
The rest of my
poor
mama.
thing. You poor thing.
She stole my testicles. Yeah. But yeah. Well, that's good. So, I mean, it's not too bad. Something that you definitely moved into.
Oh, yeah. It was, trust me, it was a huge learning curve. It really was. But I was actually just talking about that with Tammy Engel on our drive coming back from Tonopah, about how much I had to learn about how to manage an organization. Mm-hmm. There's paperwork, and there's who do you contact for this, and the legalities of a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of requirements that we fall under that unless you're in that position, you don't even know it.
Yeah. Well, I used to be CEOs of my own company,
right?
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to know. You have to kind of know the law. You have to make sure that you're not going to get sued.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Make sure that you're helping your employees. In the right way. So yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And it's a lot. It's a lot for somebody, especially for you. You came from traffic. You like traffic.
I was a street cop my entire career.
Yeah. So, do you still go out?
I go out as much as I can.
Yeah.
As frequently as I can. In fact, today I was on my way out to Amargosa, leaving Mom's Diner, and a wreck happens right in front of me, and right there at Basin and 160, and one of the drivers just decided not to stop. So, there's no reason why I can't just go down there and stop them, and I did. And
it was right in front of you.
It was right in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
isn't that the most important thing, is that you actually witness it?
It's helpful. Yeah. It is helpful. Okay. But I wasn't focused. So when the deputy drove up, I said, I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure which car was going which way, so I'm not sure who was in the wrong.
Right.
I said, I think this one was in the wrong, but don't quote me on it. Go back and talk to that driver.
Right. Wow.
Oh, goodness. My dogs are going to be so upset when I get home and they smell you on me. At least you
smell good.
Oh. Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't smell.
He's going to have a bath here after healing.
Yeah.
But, well, there's a couple things that people asked me to ask you.
Okay.
The newest one is, the horse thing with the vet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The lady that took the video, is trying to have a fundraiser. She changed the name, I believe. These are the facts that I know of. So, this is my humble opinion here. She changed the name to her rescue, which she doesn't have a rescue legally. And wants to do, the people want to know, can the sheriff's department help with that and shut it down?
No, that would be for code enforcement
Okay.
to enforce their laws as far as permits or business licenses or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, we're always available to help the other agencies, and if they need us for whatever reason, maybe somebody gets out of control or it's a large group of people or something, we're always there for them.
Yeah.
In fact,
but you're not the main
we're not the primary enforcement agency for something like that. No. They have their functions. We have our functions. Sometimes they blend into each other.
Okay.
But now that doesn't say that we can't enforce code enforcement violations, because we can. But when there's an organization, an agency that is designated for that, we try to stay in our own lane.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
And we're there to assist.
I'm sure code enforcement appreciates it.
I'm sure they do too.
Yeah. Nobody likes being stepped on.
Yep.
So that's good. Code enforcement, you guys. So if you have the issue and you want to go and do your thing and fight this, that's where you go. The other thing was too, so last year, I think it was, you came out with a squatters policy, right? And people are very confused about it. I don't know why, but they are. The squatters policy that you put together, you guys can do this. Sheriff's Department can actually do something about the squatters on private property.
Correct.
What about county property?
Yes, we can if given the authority, if given the blessing from the county.
Okay.
And that
commissioners or
it depends on who is in charge of that office right there.
Okay, got you.
Can be the person giving us that blessing, that authority.
Okay.
Yes, the ordinance that I drafted and proposed and got passed was designated to be and designed to be for vacant land.
Oh, okay.
And that's really what it's mostly addressing, vacant land. All too often, people own a piece of property somewhere off of, say, Kellogg and Quarter Horse, and nobody lives there. There's no house. They bought this land 25 years ago in hopes that maybe someday they'll make a gajillion dollars on selling it. And they maybe live in Arizona or Minnesota, and they never come here and see it.
Right.
So they're totally unaware of what's going on their vacant land. They pay their property taxes every year, and that's it. So oftentimes it's difficult for us or code enforcement or whoever to get a hold of that owner because we have to find out who the owner is first.
Right.
Then we have to find an address and a phone number. Try to call that phone number, and that phone number is not right. Well, you go down the list of the phone numbers down to number 10, and finally you find number 10 is the right phone number for this person.
Gosh.
Or maybe not. So you send a letter to their address. Code enforcement is, say, if you've got a vacant piece of property that is just overrun with weeds and trash and whatever, code enforcement they do have code ordinances that address that.
Okay.
And so they are usually the first line to try to go after enforcement. But because they're not peace officers, they're not law enforcement officers, they don't necessarily have the access to things that we maybe sometimes do. So it's more difficult for them to find that owner of this property. So sometimes they'll ask us to assist them with an investigation to find an owner, things like that. Well, that's what this ordinance was meant to address. And I'm saying Kellogg and Quarter Horse, but it's really meant for these wide open areas, like the way it used to be behind the Nugget and behind Smith's.
Yeah.
Okay. For years, that's been a homeless camp of.
Is it not anymore?
It's not anymore. Have you been up there lately?
No, I haven't.
There's nobody back there anymore.
Well, that's good.
Because we ran them all off.
Good.
Because this ordinance was effective in doing that.
Oh, good.
And the way it's written is in order for you to be setting up camp on a vacant piece of property, you either have to be the owner of that property or you have to have a notarized lease from the owner of record of that property.
Oh.
Now, the owner of record means who does the assessor say owns that piece of property?
Right.
Now, if they have a lease from Joe McGill and D Mounts is the owner of record, it's not a valid lease.
Yeah.
And we can immediately remove them.
Oh, okay.
So it was a wonderful tool.
And it's helped a lot.
If you go back behind the Nugget
I'm
and
going to go back
Smith's,
there, yeah.
there's nobody back there anymore.
Bad.
They've all been moved up to the BLM land behind the power lines.
Okay.
And we can't enforce that.
Right.
BLM has their rules.
Right.
It's for them to handle. So.
Well, I know there's a lot of that kind of stuff on the bigger properties, which are by the brothels. There's a lot of empty land out there and stuff, but there's a lot of car tents and stuff like that. Is that something under your ordinance?
It's absolutely something that will work. Out north, there's a lot of broken down or old and beat up, worn out RVs that are just spotted out there.
Right.
And yeah, that's something that can be used for that, and it is being used. I mean, I made contact with a few people down off of Boot Hill, down in the area Boot Hill, behind the arena, and they were in tents, they were in cardboard shacks, they were in broken down, non-running motorhomes, and this was just a few weeks ago, and I told him, you can't stay here like this.
Right.
And so a couple days later, they're gone.
Wow, good.
We're using it all the time down on Dahlia behind Walmart.
Well, yeah. That's a big one.
Unfortunately, a lot of times it's like playing whack-a-mole because we will approach this person and say, you can't stay here. Okay, I'll be out of here in 2 hours. And they are. Then the next day, somebody else is there. And that person that you talk to that left in 2 hours is 4 blocks away on a different piece of property. Yeah. And now you go talk to them again and say, you got to go. Okay, I will. A day later, they're somewhere else.
Right.
And so it really is. It's like whack-a-mole. But we're educating the public and we're educating the homeless. And they're getting it. Good. They're figuring it out.
Good.
Like I said, back behind Smith's and the Nugget, they've all gone up to BLM land. Those are the ones that figured it out.
Right. That's right. That's right. They know the game.
They're not going to get in trouble with us. And BLM, unfortunately, is so short-handed. I think we have one BLM ranger for everything from the top of the mountain to like Beatty or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Ryan. Is it Ryan?
It's bad.
Or his boss. What's his name?
Ryan lives up in Beatty. He's not with BLM anymore.
Oh, he's not?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
No, that's been
no wonder he's
3
so
years.
Good on my solar farm stuff.
Oh.
But yeah. And I can't remember the other guy's name, the boss guy. But young guy. Dealt with him for a long time. I have this Joe Biden thing going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, that's good. I'm so happy about your ordinance. That's a big success.
It's been very helpful. And yes, it is a success.
Yeah, it is. That's great.
It's not a cure-all. Nothing is a cure-all.
No, nothing is, yeah.
But
there's always someone going around the law.
We gotta have tools in our tool bag, and that's one of our tools.
That's great.
Yep.
I'm happy for you, and for us. Just the whole property thing. Is the shopping center, that's private property?
Shopping centers are private property.
Right. People don't understand that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's a different issue. I have proposed an ordinance and sent it in to come up before the Board of Commissioners. And we'll see how it turns out.
Okay.
I'm hoping that something does, because now let's make something clear here in the very beginning. Because you're homeless doesn't mean you're a criminal.
That's right.
You have to be violating some crime to be a criminal.
Right.
And if you're homeless and you're sitting on the bench in front of Albertsons, because there's a bench or chair or table, something like that there. Unless there's a law that says you can't do that, you're not doing anything wrong, and I have no right to even approach you.
Right.
You might have warrants for your arrest out of 48 states.
But you don't need to know that because he's not breaking the law.
But I have no right to approach you. Except in the case of a consensual encounter, which is a technical term, and it's a legal term. But if it's a consensual encounter and you don't want to talk to me, you can walk away from me, and I can't keep you from walking away.
Right. You could be mad.
I have to have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain you.
Right.
So, with that being clear, if there's not a law prohibiting you from sitting on that table, then we can't do anything about it.
Right.
Now, the private property owner can. Albertsons store manager can hire private security to patrol their parking lot and their sidewalk area. The shopping center, all in itself, is probably all one owner.
Yeah.
That one owner can hire private security to enforce their rules.
Yeah, not laws.
Not laws,
right.
but rules, and they can run people off.
I think the property manager is right across the street too.
Could be.
The one that for Albertsons and Walmart and stuff.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
So now if the property representative goes out and asks that person sitting at the bench, we don't want you sitting here. Leave. And that guy does not leave. Now that's a different story.
Right.
Now we can get involved because it's a trespassing. And so that's the differentiation. It's a real fine line sometimes, a very, very fine line sometimes. But if this ordinance that I proposed, some of it is you can't lay down on the sidewalk in front of a building. Like, for instance, in the evening, you might see in front of
like CVS.
CVS. Exactly. Yeah, CVS is a good example.
Yeah.
Because there's little cutouts in the building where people tend to get in from the weather, and I understand it. I can't blame them, but that new ordinance will potentially be another really good tool for us.
No, that's good.
So I have high hopes.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's safety of the people.
It is.
You're walking up to CVS to go get your prescriptions or something, and some guy comes out or some girl comes out, from one of those little hideaway places and stuff, scares the crap out of you.
Okay, and it startles you, but is that person being dangerous?
Exactly.
Usually.
Yeah.
You don't usually not. Right. I can tell you, I'm not afraid to go anywhere in this town by myself after dark. And chances are that person might just be going to say to you, "Hey, do you have $1?"
Right.
And maybe you say yes, maybe you say no.
Mm-hmm.
And that person's not going to 99% of the time harass you over that.
Right.
Do you have a cigarette? No, I don't smoke. Sorry. Walk away.
Right.
Now, again, there's a fine line. If that person blocks your path, if that person gets belligerent with you, now there's a crime.
Right. Right.
Now call us and we can take some action.
Yeah. Well, I had experienced, so about 5 or 6 years ago, and the first time out, we had moved here, and first time out, excuse me, and it was on a Tuesday, and this guy comes up to me in the parking lot saying, "Do I have any change?" I said, "No, sorry, I don't carry cash." And he got very upset.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, what are you doing shopping and stuff? I go, he goes, how do you buy anything? And I go,
I have a credit card.
Yeah, I go, I have a card. And he goes, I need to take that from you. And I'm like, whoa, what? And I go, why would you do that? And I was just trying to stall. I have a gun on me,
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, because I can. Well, I called the sheriff's office. They were out right away and stuff. And I go, yeah, that's him right there. And now he's doing this to all the cars, trying to open them up and stuff. And you could tell he was on something. And but I don't think they ever caught him. But they said that this guy has been a problem for just about every business in that area and stuff. But I thought that was a really good experience for me. But I'm like, dude, it's Tuesday at 2:00.
Yeah.
Who does this?
Look, it happens. And it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
If you think that, or if anyone thinks that Pahrump has a crime problem, go spend a few days in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now come back and you'll appreciate your small town.
I don't think we have a crime problem. I think maybe and I don't know. This is an ignorant statement because I don't know. But I know that because more people have moved in and stuff like that, we've been seeing some new stuff like tagging and things like that. But it's not out of control, is it? Are we still a sleepy town?
We are still a sleepy town.
That's good.
I believe very much so. You're never going to get away from crime. Mm-hmm. Crime is always going to be present.
Yes.
And my feeling is crime is the same wherever you go based on your population. Mm-hmm. It's based on percentages. Mm-hmm. For the most part. Mm-hmm. Vegas has 2.5 million people in the valley now. Mm-hmm. And they have a homicide a day.
Wow.
Or close to it.
Yeah.
We have close to 50,000 people. Mm-hmm. And we maybe have 2 homicides a year, if that.
Yeah.
It's proportionate to your population size.
Well, and
is your crime.
Is the homicide rate, is that for people that live here in Nye County or people that come in from like Vegas or California? There's a lot of that too.
Well, okay, so I'm going to think back on our recent homicides, or most recent homicides. One was a homeless guy. The victim was not homeless, but homeless adjacent, I guess.
Okay.
But he was the suspect was here for a while. Mm-hmm. That homicide, another homicide that I'm thinking of, had been here for a while and had family here. Mm-hmm. We had an attempt homicide on the highway out on 95 and 160. That was a road rage incident. I don't think either of those 2 individuals belong here in Pahrump necessarily. Mm-hmm. But I would say that usually they're residents of the community where the crime occurs.
Okay, got ya. Wow. Well, there's a lot, there's a lot of, how do I put this? Internet chit chat.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these statements.
I can tell you. If it's on Facebook, it's got to be true.
It's right.
It's got to be true.
Well, what's even worse about Facebook is Next Door, the app Next Door. Oh my gosh. I mean, these people are just out of control.
Really?
And, but the,
oh my goodness.
I want people to know that there was a statement by a guy that's known to stir the pot.
Okay.
About, well, our sheriff's department hires cops that have been fired from other departments. I don't think he said like for what, but don't they do background checks and blah 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 blah. And I'm laughing because I know the process because I've lived through it with my husband and stuff. But people don't realize that the background checks that police do or law enforcement do is intense.
It is.
They go all the way back.
It is. Yes, we do background checks. We do have standards. Yes, we do sometimes hire people who were fired or resigned in lieu of termination from other agencies, depending on the reason.
Right.
Depending on the reason behind it. And I can tell you one in particular individual that we have who is a deputy with us, was with another agency and was accused of having engaged in a vehicle pursuit. And that agency's vehicle pursuit guidelines were much more stringent than what ours are. There was no crash. There was no fire. There was no burning bodies. Actually, the person who fled did wind up minor crashing, hit a curb and blew his tire out, if I remember right. And the deputy or the officer at that agency had terminated his pursuit or following of that subject and then reacquired him after he blew his tire and got dope and a gun.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, because the administration of that agency chose to take the position that he was in a pursuit, I don't know if he was or not. I wasn't there. They brought up administrative charges on him, and he was eventually fired. Well, like I said, that agency's vehicle pursuit guidelines are a lot more stringent than what ours are here. I admire that cop for doing that.
Yeah, we're country.
We are country.
Yeah, we like being country.
We're a lot of wide open. We're very low level traffic volume for the most part. And so that person put in an application, and I read the investigative report from the other agency, and I said, we'll give this guy a chance. And he's a great cop. Great deputy for us. Fantastic.
Fits right in.
Fits right in. Motivated, happy to be here.
That's good.
Works hard, goes out, does his job, backs his partners. It's not a problem.
Right.
Just because you maybe had a speed bump in your career doesn't necessarily mean that it has to completely derail the entire train.
Right. He didn't murder anybody.
He exactly. He maybe was involved in a vehicle pursuit that was in violation of policy. Maybe.
Right.
I can tell you there are other agencies who do no background investigation whatsoever.
Really?
Yep.
I've never heard of that.
And there are deputies who have left our department and have gone to other agencies and applied, and they left our department for whatever reason, and they're working for other agencies. So it just depends on who you are and where you go sometimes. But I can tell you, I've turned down multiple people
Mm-hmm.
applying with our department for one reason or another. Maybe it's drug history. Maybe it's your financial instability.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's your job instability. You've had 10 jobs in 10 years.
Right.
Maybe it's whatever you left your other law enforcement agency, wherever that was.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that we don't always get all the information from that agency that you left.
I believe you on that one.
And sometimes we're having to make a decision without having all the facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, it does happen. With anyone, not just the sheriff's department.
Correct.
With anyone.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I had a point. We need more police officers, deputies, right?
We do.
Okay. And
Because our population is growing,
yes,
and our department is not growing.
Right, right. And what's a quick overview? What is the process for you guys to do that, to get the funding? Is it grants? Is it straight from the commissioners? You know, what seems to be the issue that you can't get what you need?
Well, right now we have empty deputy positions,
Mm-hmm.
and that was mentioned in the last county commission meeting.
Mm.
And yes, that is a fact. We do have empty deputy positions. The pool of people who want to go into the law enforcement field
Mm-hmm.
is smaller than it used to be.
Oh.
Because of, like you said, the internet.
Mm-hmm.
When people grow up and they read these newspaper articles and these internet posts that are talking about nothing but how bad every cop in the country is because of that one cop in whatever city, whatever state.
Yep.
And they're stereotyping everybody that wears a badge.
Now, good cops don't like bad cops.
No.
People don't realize that.
No.
They don't like that.
That's no. Not at all. On the line. Not at all. And you're potentially getting me in trouble for something that I maybe witnessed and didn't report,
mm-hmm.
or they think that I was there,
right.
or I was there, but I didn't know
right.
that you stole the cash off of the nightstand.
Right, right.
So no, I'm steadfast when it comes to disciplining wrong actions based on the level of the action.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this established criteria, I guess you might say, that's been negotiated with the unions, with
mm-hmm.
the deputies union, sergeants union. And there is a general standard. If you get arrested for something less than a felony,
mm-hmm.
it's up to this level of punishment. If you get arrested for domestic violence, but you were found not guilty, I can still discipline you for the arrest. Because think about it. When you go to court, you were found not guilty. That doesn't always mean, or charges were not filed, that doesn't always mean that it didn't happen.
No, not guilty means that...
Not guilty means there's not enough proof to say that you did the crime that you're accused of.
That's right. Yeah. Innocence is totally different. You didn't do the crime.
Well, there is no specification for not guilty and innocent in court.
It's guilty or not guilty.
It's guilty or not guilty. But if a DA chooses not to prosecute a crime, then where are we left?
Right, right.
Well, at the time of the disciplinary action, a law enforcement person, maybe from here, from Vegas, from wherever, had probable cause that you committed a crime,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a peace officer with our department, I'm going to go based on the fact that he said you had probable cause. That he had probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to look at all those facts. And we're going to make a determination as to whether you are going to be disciplined and what level of discipline you will be given.
Mm-hmm.
We are currently going to arbitration on a case of a deputy that was accused of a crime, one of our deputies
Mm-hmm.
that was accused of a crime in Vegas. Based on the severity of that accusation, my decision was to terminate that deputy. And that person is now going through arbitration, and that's the process. And
When you've got unions involved,
you, of
too.
course,
Yeah.
unions are involved, and maybe he'll get his job back, and maybe he'll get back pay. On the other hand, maybe not.
Yeah. Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know yet.
We
Wow.
have a date.
Yeah. Wow. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
This is the administrative
That's
side.
right. That's right. And I never had to deal with that
Yeah.
part. And I tell you, that's the hardest part, because I'm having to call my coworker, my friend, into the office and say, you screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you screwed up a little. Maybe you screwed up really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having to spank him somehow.
Yeah.
That's hard.
That is hard. Yeah.
But I know it's the duties of the job.
Well, do they understand? They have to understand.
They do understand, usually, yes.
Yeah.
I think they always understand, but maybe don't agree.
Right.
Maybe don't like it.
I'm your friend. Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult
It
to
is.
do something like that.
Yep.
And I get that. It's difficult to tell your best friend, something's going on and you're not happy with them, so you can imagine,
right,
with the power that you have,
sure,
to do that. So
yeah, look at the controversy in just friendships as opposed to your income.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. With the other, do you have anything that you want to get out there about you or the sheriff's department here?
Well, I scratched down some notes of noteworthy things over the last 2.5 years. If you'd like to get some of that out, we've been when I was campaigning, and ever since. I've been talking about we need cars. Well, we've gotten cars.
Yes, and
we still need cars.
Why are they all different colors?
Well, okay. Let's go to that. When I took office, there was a purchase of Ford Explorers that had been ordered by my predecessor.
Yes.
When I took office, we found out that somehow that order got canceled. We couldn't get Ford Explorers anymore because they weren't being built at that time of the year. So we looked around and we found a vendor somewhere on the East Coast, I think it was in Pennsylvania, that had a whole bunch of Dodge Durangos on his parking lot, on a storage lot.
Yeah.
And they were available. Oh, by the way, they're black. And the Tom Bowling, who is in charge of buildings and grounds,
something like that.
He's the fleet manager, and he called me up and he said, "Joe," he says, "I got an angle where we can get you some Dodge Durangos." I said, "I don't care. Go ahead, get them."
Right.
He said, "They're black." I said, "We'll drive them if they're Mary Kay pink. I don't care. We need cars."
Right, right.
So we got them. Well, they're beautiful cars, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They
They're
really
gorgeous,
are.
Yeah.
When you wash them.
What I like is people get confused because they're used to the
That
white.
is true.
Yeah,
that's true.
What I like.
They're hard to keep clean, and especially in the fact that we live in the desert.
In the dirt.
There's a lot of gravel roads, gravel driveways, whatever. So the next time we ordered white Dodge Durangos. And they're beautiful too.
Yeah.
They're a little easier to keep clean.
Yes, they are.
And we have more. A couple more still. But the point of this is you buy a new car every so often, right?
No, but
you have to sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, because the car got old, right?
Right.
Maybe you got in a wreck. Maybe it broke down and it wasn't